Morning, everybody. Day 38 of the suffering. And it's time once again to wake up and make the most of this day, get these results in. No excuses. I don't care how tired I am, how I feel when I wake up, how much I don't want to do something. Has to be done, so I shall do it. I'll see you guys in the kitchen. Well, we got it in on level 2 this morning. I was a little tired than usual. Well, I know why, because yesterday I did level 5 on the Stairmaster, and I'm not used to that. So today it really hit me hard. So I was only able to do level 2 instead of level 3. So it's just kind of like they kind of like counterbalance themselves. But that's okay, because I'll build into that level 5. And as I get better at level 5, I'll be able to do level 3, level 4 in the mornings too, if it gets to that point. Okay, so yesterday I got asked a question, how did I figure out my calories? Like, did I use like a body weight, calorie times thing? No, I didn't. Calories are important, but I was more concerned about my macros than I was about my calories. And then I wanted to get my total amount of macros that I felt I needed for this program, and then I would add up what the calories were. So basically what I did is I figured out where I wanted my macros to come from. So for my protein, I chose chicken breast because it's one of the leanest cuts of meat you could get with no fat, especially when you boil it down. Protein powder and egg whites. So those are my sources of protein. And then my carbohydrates was going to be the form of oatmeal and brown rice. And then my fat was going to be in the form of olive oil. And the reason why I did it like this is because I wanted to be able to individually adjust my macros. So if I pick something like a whole egg or red meat, then the issue would be if I went up or down on the red meat, my fat would also go up and down. But if I just needed to lower my fat, then I wouldn't be able to lower my fat without lowering my protein, or up my fat or protein, or vice versa. So that's why I chose to do the way I did it. I do pretty much 4 servings of rice a day, which is 35 calories per serving. And then I do my oatmeal, which is another 30 grams of carbohydrates. So it puts me at around 170 carbs. And then my protein, I do a cup and a half of egg whites, which is right around 26 grams of protein for breakfast and for dinner. And then I do 3 scoops of whey protein, which is 75 grams, right at 75 grams. And then I have 2 pounds of chicken a day, which is around 200 grams of protein. And that puts me right around 330 grams of protein a day. And then my fats, I use olive oil, and I use 1 ounce of olive oil, which is right around 50 grams of fat, 50 grams of fat. And that's how those are the items that I decided, the food items I decided what I was going to use to get my macros, and those were the macro amounts. And then that totaled out to, after I figured out, okay, the amount of macros I wanted, the source of the macros I want to get, and then after that, I totaled up the calories. So my calories are 2,660, and the reason why they totaled out to that much is because that's pretty much what those macros total out to. I wasn't concerned necessarily about the calories. Calories are important, calories in versus calories out and everything, but macros are also extremely important whenever it comes to bodybuilding. So I knew I wanted to be somewhere around 2,500 plus or minus 300 calories. So it wasn't really too big of a concern of mine if I landed right at 2,500 or if I went over or under by 300, as long as I was generally in the ballpark of 2,500. Because if I needed to adjust up, I could. If I needed to adjust down, I could. If I wanted to go up on my fat or my protein or my carbs, I could individually adjust what I needed to get to where I needed my calories to be or my macronutrients. And also whenever I wanted to make adjustments to my diet itself, like, okay, if I felt like I was getting too many calories and I want to bring my calories down, I can choose where I wanted my calories to come from. Did I want it to come from just protein, just carbs, or just fats? Or did I want it to come from all 3 or just 2 of the 3 or whatever? So that's why I went with the food sources I'm going with now. But also, too, I wanted to challenge myself and I wanted something difficult. I'm not a big fan of brown rice or chicken breast. That's no surprise there if anyone watches the channel. So I did that, but also I decided not to go with seasonings and salts because I did not want to, well, I wanted to see if my blood pressure would go down because I had elevated blood pressure if I did that, and I dropped that and my blood pressure went down. And I don't miss the seasonings and I don't miss the salt. So it's like, it's a win for me. It's a huge win-win for me because it's like I don't miss having the seasonings and the salts on my food, and I don't miss having high blood pressure. So both are a win. So there's no net loss on that one. Nothing but profit. So that's how I figured out what my calories were, by simply adding up the amount of macronutrients I wanted first. Well, calculating the amount of macronutrients I wanted first, and then adding up all the food sources that I was getting my macros from, and then seeing where the calories were at. Because if I want a bigger deficit, I don't need to go down on food. I could just go up on my cardio. So it's like, okay, for my deficit, do I want to eat less food, or do I just want to increase the amount of cardio to increase the deficit? So I just increased the cardio because increasing the cardio is just a surefire way to be able to increase the deficit without having to go into like a super hungry starvation point. Because when I get too low on calories, it's anybody in the world. Once you get too low on calories, your dieting becomes just miserable. It's just absolutely miserable. You're hungry when you wake up. You're hungry after you eat. You're hungry while you're eating. You're hungry while you're working out. You're doing cardio. You're going to bed. You're thinking of food and dreaming of food. And it's just miserable. I can handle 2,500 calories fairly easy. I do get hungry between meals, and I do get hungry towards the end of the night especially. But for the most part, my hunger comes and goes in waves. And it's not starvation. It's just a little bit of hunger that I eat, and I'm totally fine. And by increasing the cardio, it increases those hunger pains because I'm expending more calories, which makes my body hungrier, versus like having to just eat very little than being hungry and it never stops. So that's why I would rather eat more. And plus, if you're bodybuilding, I mean, you really need the nutrients. You need it to build. I mean, if you're not eating enough food, you're not going to maintain your muscle. You're not going to grow. You're just going to get skinny and skinny fat. You're going to lose muscle. You're going to lose fat. You're going to lose both together. It's going to come down, and then you're not going to look nothing but skinny. Now, if you're going for skinny, or if you just want to be thinner, or you just want to be smaller and you're trying to downsize, and yeah, that's great, go for it. But for the sake of what I'm doing, that just doesn't add up for me to be like, oh yeah, let me go ahead and cut all of it and just do a bunch of cardio and just wither away. So get your figure out your macros. Once you figure out your macros, then add your calories. Total everything up and see where your calories are at. And as long as your macros fall where they need to be, you're good. And you're like, well, how do I figure out my macros? You can either go off of body weight, like 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, or 1.5 gram of protein per pound of body weight, or 2 grams of protein, or 0.8 grams of protein for carbohydrates, depending on your individual needs. You can go off of 0.8. You can go off of 1 gram per pound, 1.5 gram per pound. It just depends on what you're doing. And then you have to really pay attention to how your body feels, because if you go too low, you might feel really, really, really bad, and you may not have energy to do anything or work out. You go too high, you're not going to be burning any fat. You're going to be burning that for energy. Same thing for fats. If you go too low on fat, it will crush your hormones, and then you'll feel like, oh, because there's essential fatty acids you need to feel good. If you go too high, you're going to be getting too many calories. So you got to kind of have to play for what you need on your body weight and your body style and what you're going for and your needs and your demands for what you're trying to achieve. So just generally speaking, if you want to lose weight, it never hurts to start at 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, 0.7 grams of carbs per pound of body weight, and then maybe like, I don't know, your total daily fat will be like 30% of your calories, or you could go between 20 to 50 grams of fat per day. The fat, I just go off of like, try to keep it around 40, 50 grams a day. Okay, I want to eat. Okay, back in the gym once again. It's 4 o'clock. I'm actually on my 4th set already of my first movement, which is leg extensions. So everything else we do 6 sets total. Shoulders, we do about 9. But with legs, I do 12. I do 3 movements. And I do 4 sets of each movement, 3 warm-ups, then a top set. I don't feel like I can warm my knees and my hips and my back and my muscles up with only 2 sets and then going into it. Maybe if I spent 10 minutes on the Stairmaster or something, I probably could, but to be honest, like my knees take a little bit more to warm up. Same thing for my my hips and everything, and I'm not trying to get hurt, so I'd play it safer, do a little bit more volume in the forms of sets for repetitions. I'm not trying to get hurt. This is the only training I do for my hamstrings and my quads. The tanning salon's paying off. I'm not so pale. I'm still fat, still gross, just not as pale. Okay, last week I did 110 for the only problem is I stick to this thing after I roll my shorts up. It makes it very uncomfortable. These are the things that I suffer through for these videos, man. Like sticky skin on the back of the pad. It's not fun. Okay, so last week I did 110 for 15. So tonight I got 115 on here, 5 pounds heavier. I'm gonna try to get between 8 to 15 because, like I said, with these I kind of keep it a little bit lighter. That's just about going through the pain, right? Just getting through it. It's just about pain, just suffering just enough to get through those reps for a brief moment for all the rewards. It's reaping the benefits of your suffering through this type of pain for a duration of time. I also like to start with the leg extensions because it really warms up the knee a whole lot before I start going into squatting motions, which I don't do squats no more. I do belt squats and I do hack squats because actual squats just hurts my hips and my back. Oh, it's imbalances. Oh, impingement. It's a lot of things. Oh, how can you talk during your set? You must not be lifting that hard. No, not with this movement. This one I just want a good hard squeeze. It's 11, I think. This one's 12. Oh, I could keep going, but I'm not. 15's good. It's good enough blood flow in the knee and the quad because the main movements are belt squats and hack squats. This is just mainly to warm up my knee. Plus, I do a lot of volume on the Stairmaster, so I can go heavier. But again, if I go too heavy on this, it actually hurts my knee. So it's a balancing act. Top set of belt squats. Some people might be like, you need to do squats, man. You need to do squats. You got to do squats. You can't build up good legs without squats. Well, I've been doing squats for many, many years. And I got to tell you, anyone who's never done belt squats doesn't know how similar a belt squat feels to a squat. It's identical to the lower body. The only difference is instead of loading the back and the spine, you're loading the hips, and it's a pull instead of a crushing motion. But it feels identical to the squat motion, just without all the back and ab involvement, where you feel in your back and lower abs and hips. And then this, you can actually target specifically if you want to hit your inner thigh, your outer thigh, the top, the hips, the glutes. You can really manipulate this because you have a bar to hold on to, but also your foot placement and the way that the belt pulls on you. If you want to have your knees out in front of you or behind you or whatever else. I'm only doing 245 tonight. Last week I did 225 because, like I said, my knee and hip thing that's going on, which is crazy because back in the day whenever I was powerlifting, and I know I'm not big and strong like I used to be, but back then whenever I was powerlifting, I would do this with 405 for sets of 20. Like nothing, like just bang them out, 405 for 20. And now I'm doing 245 and I'm struggling. Hoping my knee doesn't blow out. Like, please don't blow out. Please don't blow out. Please don't blow out. If y'all have never done belt squats before, man, y'all should. If y'all have access to it, y'all really need to give these a shot. This is probably one of my favorite quad movements right now. It's been for a while just because it doesn't load the back. Now let's see if I can do this without hurting my groin or my hip or my knee or my hamstring. That's the difference of getting like 8,000, 9,000 calories a day, training 3 days a week, versus getting 2,600 calories a day, training 6 days a week and doing cardio. I used to be an ox, man. I could do 405 on here for 20 reps and just that tempo right there. Nice, slow, controlled with a pause and the back up for 405 for 20. I'm not like reminiscing, like, oh, I'm not as strong. Like, you just can't hold that amount of strength when you're in a huge deficit like this. Now, I'm not in the deficit like I went from 8,000 down to 2,500, but still, I'm in a deficit and I don't eat like I used to eat. I'm a lot leaner and a lot lighter. 215 versus 270, 80, 90. It's a big difference, especially on the way you perform in the gym. Strength and cosmetics or aesthetics. It's a completely different ball game in training. I'm gonna go write this down. Last week, whenever I trained my quads, you guys know I'm having some hip and knee pain. But the problem is I don't have a full range of motion in my right knee. So whenever I was younger, I was BMXing. I hit the ramp wrong. I came off. I put my leg down, hyperextended it, tore my ACL. Needed surgery. Didn't get surgery. Healed up after about 9 months to a year. Continued to live my life as I normally lived. Had problems with it off and on in my teen years as I became an adult. Got really big into working out and powerlifting. Never really had an issue up until last October. I pretty much hyperextended it playing kickball because something in my groin pulled and I tried to stop and it was a huge issue. Anyways, so what I'm trying to do because whenever I bend my knee too far, I get a lot of pressure in the front of my knee and discomfort. Hence why I do the yoga the way I do it. If you come right here so they can see the sled. So if I put my feet up here, I can only get to a 90. But if you put your feet down here, it elevates your heel like you're in a squat shoe, like you're in a lifting shoe, like an Olympic lifting. So you have an elevated heel, put you in a better position for your mobility if you have mobility issues, which I don't, not with my ankles at least. But this allows me to sink really, really low. But the problem is my knee doesn't want me to sink really low because it starts talking to me like, "Hey, too deep, stop." But I'm going to do what I always do when I have an injury or something that just won't stop bothering me is I'm dropping the load, lightening it up, making the load lighter, because apparently I can't say that correctly. I'm going to make the load lighter and use a bigger range of motion with less load so I could go through it with no major pain, maybe a little discomfort, a little bit of pressure, but not pain. I'm not trying to hurt. I'm just trying to take it through a range of motion, a pain-free plane of motion with a full stretch in the movement and joint. That's what I did with my shoulder since February, and it's back to feeling good. So that's what we're doing here. So the weight is going to be significantly lighter. Now you can see the difference here. Okay, this is all the way down here. You see where a little bit past 90, I guess, versus being down here. It's a lot bigger of a lot deeper of a movement. So we're going to try to build back into that movement with much lighter weight. Now with this, I also like to bring my feet close together because on the belt squats, we go wide. We're going to take these really slow. I could care less about how many reps I get and the weight. I just want a range of motion that doesn't hurt. See how deep that is? Nice, good, deep. Taking it real slow because I'm not trying to shock the joint or load it. I want to come to a dead stop here on the bottom, which I feel the pressure in my knee up to my hip. I'm going to press out of that, try to keep it pain-free. So I feel that in my hip right there. I'm going to do what I can do as long as it's not painful. And again, I'm trying to get a full range of motion here on the knee. Yeah, see, that's uncomfortable. I can feel that a lot in my knee and in my hip. I'm going to bring my feet up just a little bit. Try to reduce the stretch some. Oh, see, I can't tell if that's in my knee or if that's in my hip. But it hurts. It's not painful, but I can feel it. So there's 5. Oh, there's 6. Oh, okay, I'm gonna switch that up. Oh man, that's a lot of pressure on my knee there. Oh, I'm gonna finish up the set right here because that's as much as my knee can take with that movement. I don't know if I better put my feet low like that after all. I was hoping I could, but man, I got a shooting pain from my knee up into my hip. Try to push it a little bit. Felt good for a few reps, but I might have to keep my feet up here for a couple more weeks and then try that again. The yoga's working because I wasn't able to do that a couple weeks ago, that deep range like that, but it's definitely going to be something I'm going to have to slowly build back into. Maybe the first couple warm-ups I can do that, but I don't think my top set's going to be where it's at. I'm probably just going to have to say, well, not say, but sacrifice that deep range of motion and go with that 90 because that feels really comfortable in my knee and my hip. And unfortunately, going deep like that, it's not going to end well for me. I can already tell. So I'm going to have to probably spend the next 3-4 days trying to get this to let loose. But got to push it a little bit, see where your tolerance is at. And now I know where mine's at. Still got a few more weeks, if not months, to get that fixed. But let's see if I can get at least 8 with this. And I like to get a nice, good, deep stretch on the bottom of this. I'm getting a lot of calf work on the Stairmaster indirectly. It's not like loading like this, but I do get a lot of calf work right now. So I'm not really like stressing like the amount of work I do in my calves. I'm just really honestly trying to get some type of load on them with a weight for a duration of time to kind of make sure that the muscle understands like, okay, don't go nowhere. Don't atrophy. We're not trying to leave. We still need you, and you still got to do what you need to do. Ooh, that's not too bad. Okay, so now after this, I'm going to do 30 minutes on the Stairmaster. Got to get my cardio in. That's always fun, especially with burning legs. So I think I might keep it at level 3 tonight. If I have the energy, I'll probably go up to level 4. This morning I did it at level 2. Feeling a little tired from yesterday's cardio session on my legs. So they're a little bit more beat up just because of the amount of cardio I'm doing when I'm daily with the amount of volume. It's just part of it. You just start getting tired, especially being on low carbs and brown rice. It doesn't really absorb quickly, so the energy is not really there like it would be if I was eating other sources of carbs. Okay, let me get my cardio in, and then I'll talk to you guys afterwards. That was a really good workout, but like I said, on my knee, I'm trying to get my full range of motion back in because I like going really deep, and the belt squats felt great. I didn't have any issues in the belt squats. The leg extensions felt great. Didn't have any issues with that, but when it came to the hack squats, I tried to go, that's my deep movement, right? That's my like, let's get all the way down as deep as we can possibly get movement. And because my knee just doesn't happen. So I think it was what I said, like 7 reps. So what I'm going to do is I'm either going to set the pin higher and try to go deep like that, but not as deep and slowly work into it. Or I might just have to cut my losses and stop going so deep and just keep my feet on a taller platform and just use a shorter range of motion and just really isolate the quad the best that I can for what I have. I've never had a problem with my quad development. They've always developed just fine, so I'm not really too worried about it. I just like having a full range of motion in all my joints. It's just the way the human body is supposed to work, so it's kind of a little upsetting that I can't do that, but who knows, maybe I'll get it back. I'll just keep practicing and trying and practicing and trying, like I said earlier. Calves are incredibly tight. I did the Stairmaster for level 5 for 28 minutes. I did 2 minutes on level 2 and level 5 for 28 minutes. And my calves are screaming at me really bad. So tomorrow I'm going to be exhausted waking up because doing leg night always wears me out. And then doing leg night paired with that much cardio, I'm going to be just fatigued tomorrow. But because I went so light on the hack squat, I might not be too terrible tomorrow. We'll see how it goes when I wake up in the morning. But I might just have to just scale it back on my legs and just be happy with what I can do and not focus on what I can't do on the range of motion, and just deal with like, hey, you know what? This doesn't hurt my knee, it doesn't bother me. I'm able to do this, and I can still develop my legs with this amount of range of motion without having to worry about going through that pain and that discomfort and worrying about that. It's just my mindset's always like, well, what if you slip and fall, or what if you trip, or what if you land weird and your knee bends all the way, complete full flexion, and you can't fully flex your knee like that, and then you blow your knee out. And that's what's always in the back of my mind, trying to stay safe. If something happens in a movement, it's a rapid like fall or jerk or twist, and you have to catch yourself, or you slam down in a certain way. So that's why it's always like, I like to be able to function like a human and have my flexibility and range of motion. I know it's like, oh, well, you're very stiff and you don't have a range of motion and you're very tight and bound up. Yeah, but my joints have always had full range of motion. So anyways, overall, it was a good day. Things are getting back to normal at work. We're not so busy anymore, so I'm able to go back to my normal routine, which is fantastic. If you guys made it this far in the video, let me know what you prefer. If y'all like to see me talking throughout the day and then a quick little overlay of the workout with the music, or if you like me guys talking through the workout like how I'm doing and stuff like that. If y'all even make it this far in the video, I'm going to go ahead and end it right now. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow.